Stories that matter. The journey of life from birth to death is an extraordinary trip, sometimes filled with great joy and excitement, but at other times filled with pain, sorrow, and disappointment. Stories That Matter shares both extremes with you. Sometimes our stories will make you feel very happy, but the journey of life is not all happiness. Other times, the journey of life will make you feel sad, for all of us have experienced both extremes. Stories That Matter will begin right after the break with a story that will touch your heart in the journey of life.
Welcome to Stories That Matter. I'm your co-host Doug Thompson with my brother to the far right, Roger Thompson, and we have a special guest with us today, Mark Jones. Mark, thank you so much for coming in.
Well, no problem. I appreciate it.
Mark's got an interesting story. We're going to get to it, but the first thing we're going to talk about is, Mark, what you're doing now, and then we're going to share with the audience about what you used to do, and we'll just go into some parts about your life with that. So let's begin with right now. You got a shop outside of town here in Chapman on Old 40.
Yes, I do. It's east of Chapman, about a mile or so, and I detail cars for the people here. I also do companies, from everything from Beloit down to here or Kansas City. I do airplanes, boats. Basically, if it moves, flies, or floats, I'm your man.
You can make them look better than new.
I do my best.
Yes, you do. So how did you get started in that business?
Well, I got started in it from my past, where I was a musician back in the day. To unwind, I would, after the gig, I would go out and polish the big rigs, polish the aluminum and everything, and that was my way of unwinding. And after a while, I realized I was pretty good at it. So,
and you liked it?
And I liked it. And I enjoyed the satisfaction I got from it. So that's how I got into it.
Okay. And then you just sort of continued that when you had the chance to leave the entertainment industry, then you started this business.
Yeah, I've been doing detailing now for about 36 years.
Wow. And
yeah.
How many years have you been in business?
Here in our state, I've been doing it for the last 7 or 8 years in different locations.
And just to get some of the size and the magnitude so that the people can kind of understand what we're talking about is we've got a picture from the Abilene Reflector, and that's you, and who's helping you?
That's my grandson. His name's Jacob Carriger.
Jacob, okay. And so you guys are doing the train that sits over in the park over in Abilene.
Yeah, we did the train. We did the train because the town of Abilene done a lot to help me and my wife get on our feet when we moved into Chisholm Trail Classic Auto Sales with Dustin DeWeese. He
Sure.
has the building, and Larry Dalton, and they let me detail out of their building. But in the meantime, the town did a lot for us, so the only way I could see to return the favor to the town was to detail the train.
Well, for people who aren't familiar with it, this is a full-size train engine, and it's been sitting in the park for many years as I can remember. And you said, I'm going to come in and make that look new. And you went in and went to work on it, you and your grandson.
Yeah, it took us about 2 weeks of off and on. We were fortunate enough, I went to AutoZone in Abilene, and they agreed to supply me with all the material for free because of what I was doing. And it took us literally about 2 weeks, and we done from the front of the train all the way back to where the coal was hauled.
Yeah.
That box too.
Did you have fun doing it?
Yeah, it was actually quite dangerous because when you're up on the side of that train, those foot rails are only about a foot wide, and you're leaning over, waxing and buffing. It gets a little hairy.
Yeah, you didn't have any scaffolding. You just used do they call them a kind of a
walkways? Yeah.
Yeah, walkway right beside them.
We done everything from the outside of the train, and my grandson went inside the engine compartment and done all the brass and bronze, and just made it come to life.
Do you realize, Doug, that is a 1919 steam engine?
I knew it was really old. I didn't know how old it was there. It was there from the time we were little kids visiting.
I won't swear to this, but I know about every kid in 4 states that played on that train, and I'm almost convinced that Dwight Eisenhower also played on that train up until he was elected president.
once he was elected president, it wasn't dignified to be playing on the
Well,
train
he was
anymore.
playing golf at that time
Yeah, he
out
was.
of Pennsylvania, if I recall.
And then, Mark, you brought in some of the other projects that you've been doing. Roger, what have you got over there that you want to show?
Well, first of all, I want to show you that stretch midget owned by Johnny Rutherford that Mark detailed. We've got that midget in the museum over here. There's a lot of chrome on it. It has an Offenhauser engine in it. And Mark even detailed the engine, and that is just beautiful. You can see that car in the museum anytime.
Yeah, it's a River City Special. It was driven by Johnny Rutherford, owned by Bob Moore,
Yeah.
out of Junction City. And Johnny Rutherford, of course, was out of Coffeyville, went on to win 3 Indianapolis 500.
Yeah, that's true. And I need to admonish the viewers today, right now, that there are restrictions to what Mark will do. If it's an airplane, he will detail it, but it has to be on the ground.
Preferably.
Yes, and he will not detail red 1994 Cougars, like the one you
Gotta have
drive.
paint. Yeah, he was telling me about that the other day. Mine's getting about 600,000 on it, and he said, you need to detail that. And I said,
Let's
don't I
pick
need
this
paint
up.
on it?
Let's pick this up after the break.
Okay, we're going to be cutting away to break here, and it's time for us to go. We'll see you right after the break. What do Darlene Austin, Braden Sunshine from The Voice, Mark Jones, formerly with Sammy Kershaw Band, Gordon and Amy McClure, Don Wagner, the band 50 Years Late, John Anderson, and others have in common? They are all special guests for the Great Plains Theater production of Hillbilly Hotspot, September 15th through the 24th. Each night features a special guest in addition to the exciting cast of Hillbilly Hotspot. Don't miss Hillbilly Hotspot at Great Plains Theater, September 15th through the 24th. See you there. Welcome back to Stories That Matter. I'm your co-host Doug Thompson with my brother Roger Thompson. We're visiting with Mark Jones. We've been taking a look at some of the work on the detailing work that you did. Before we start talking about your history and the music industry, we're going to take a look at a few more things here. Roger, what do you want to?
I want to talk about this 92-foot boat that he detailed.
It's a yacht, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, beautiful
Yes,
one.
A lot, yeah. And then he does campers, and motorhomes, airplanes, huge trucks, and these things all turn out just like new.
Yeah.
Kudos to you, Mark. I mean,
gonna
this
try
is
my best.
incredible because, and we've got albums filled up with that, and so we're going to show you folks some of these things during the show today. Doug, what else are we going to get on with?
Well, one of them that's on the screen right now, that's the 92-foot yacht that you refurbished, and you did that where was
We've
that?
done this in Houma, Louisiana. We were down there doing some other boats, and the gentleman just happened to say, hey, well, would you do my boat? And I told him as long as he had a dinghy for me to get in the
could do
water,
it.
I'll gladly do it.
Yeah, that's awesome work, and we're going to show on the screen some of the work that you have done. If I held it up for the viewing audience, they wouldn't be able to see it, but the motorcycles, the airplanes, all of the work that you've done. But you had another lifetime too. You were in the music industry. Tell me how you got into the music industry.
Well, it originally started with my brother.
Older brother?
My older brother, he taught me how to play the guitar when I was about 6 or 7 years old. And from there it took off, and as time went on, we moved all over the United States, and we lived in Louisiana, capital Louisiana, where I met Sammy Kershaw, and ended up started playing music with him and other people as well.
Was Sammy just getting started at that time?
He'd been doing it a while, but not to the level he's at now.
How did you know Sammy Kershaw to even get into contact with him?
I lived next door to him.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I lived next door to him, hung out, done stuff we shouldn't have done, a lot of drinking back then. But I got into the music that way, and I enjoyed it very much. And I've done it from 1984 to 1996, and done very well at it, and just decided it was time to stop. It was really starting to change my life in the worst way. Music will do that to
Were
you.
you always with Sammy?
No, I was with several other people as
Did you
well.
start with Sammy?
I started with another group, and then ended up with Sammy when he went on the road. And we done stuff like rodeo concerts. So it's just a fairground, So we done a lot of that. But I wasn't always with him because the money wasn't always there. He had to go where the money was. And I'd have other people would ask me to come sit in and play with them. So I played with a lot of different people. But the Kershaw is what I hold claim fame to. You know, I enjoyed it very much. I would still do it today if my wife would let me.
You loved it.
I loved it.
What
yes.
what did you play? What instrument?
I play rhythm guitar and lead vocals and harmony.
Is your brother still performing?
My brother never performed. He's not one of those that will get out in front of people and play. But he still sings, and he's an excellent guitarist and a very good vocalist as well.
So tell me, what period of time were you with Sammy Kershaw? Can you give me the years that you were traveling with him?
1986 to 1996.
So 10 years.
Yeah, 10
and
years.
where all did you play?
I played everything from Tennessee to, we started out in Tennessee, we went to Nassau Islands, we went to Anchorage, Alaska, we've been down to Cancun, we've been just about everywhere you can drive.
And how many shows would you do over the course of a year?
Not many, probably about 60.
60?
Yeah.
Okay. And would these be one-night stands?
They would be everything from a one-night stand to a 3-night gig. If you're at a Holiday Inn, you know, we did a lot of Holiday Inn circuits, a lot of musicians do. It was just a lot of fun, you know, but it was also a lot of pain.
A lot of pain in what area?
Pain as far as your life, drinking, stuff like that, going in directions you don't want to go.
A lot of late night, and you become, because you're primarily a morning person, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a morning person now, but back then I was a nighttime person. It would take me hours after a gig to wind down before I could go to bed. I wouldn't get to bed till 5 or 6 in the morning.
Is that kind of standard for the industry?
Pretty much, yeah. About every musician I know goes through a period of wind down time, and you can't break it. It's just part of you.
That 10-year period of time, how many people would have been in the band with Sammy Kershaw? That 10-year period that you're talking about. How many people in a band like that?
Between 3 and 4 people.
3 or 4 people?
Yeah, because most of them are studio musicians or musicians in the area from the unions that come in and play.
Okay. So when you talk about studio musicians, did he do recordings at that time?
He done recordings, but I didn't do no studio time. I never done anything in the recording studio with him on particular songs.
Okay. But then you would play his songs when you went out on the road?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a big difference between going in the studio and doing it, because you've got studio musicians. You almost forced, if you're in a union state, you got to use the union. You can't not use the union. You get in trouble. So when we went out on the road, that's where we'd play.
And how long, you said you lived next door to Sammy, so how long have you known Sammy Kershaw?
I've known him since about 1982.
Okay. Do you still stay in contact
Nope.
with him? Not much anymore?
I
None at all?
haven't been in that life since '96. I've completely left it. Now I still play music for campgrounds and stuff like that, or certain productions.
And you're doing a show for Hillbilly Hotspot.
Yes, I'll be doing that on the 15th.
Yeah.
But I don't go out to big places and play no more. It's my wife won't let me.
And that chapter's kind of closed, hasn't it?
Yes, it's definitely closed.
But as Roger pointed out, you're going to be one of the guests. Matter of fact, it'll be on the opening of Hillbilly Hotspot at Great Plains Theater on the 15th of September.
Yes.
And you're going to do a couple of songs that are your original
My
music.
original, yes.
And we, of course, encourage you, if you're watching this show, while you can get your ticket through Great Plains Theater at greatplainstheater.com, or you can call them in the phone book and get on board for that. We're going to take a break. We're going to be right back after these important messages.
So I'll circle on the wagon and ride out with the tide. There ain't no use to run, 'cause there's no place to hide. Gotta face up to reality and get on.
What do Darlene Austin, Braden Sunshine from The Voice, Mark Jones, formerly with Sammy Kershaw Band, Gordon and Amy McClure, Don Wagner, the band 50 Years Late, John Anderson, and others have in common? They are all special guests for the Great Plains Theater production of Hillbilly Hotspot, September 15th through the 24th. Each night features a special guest in addition to the exciting cast of Hillbilly Hotspot. Don't miss Hillbilly Hotspot at Great Plains Theater, September 15th through the 24th. See you there. Welcome back to Stories That Matter. Well, we're visiting with Mark Jones. We were just talking about Hillbilly Hotspot that's coming up. And Hillbilly Hotspot, Mark, as you maybe know, you haven't done any rehearsals because the walk-on guests, like what you're going to be, there isn't a rehearsal. You're already professional. You're already trained. So you're going to just come on to the stage and you're going to do a couple of songs, and it's going to be your original music. And that is so cool because we heard you play a little bit of it, and it's fantastic. But I'm going to tell the audience just a little bit about Hillbilly Hotspot. Hillbilly Hotspot's at Great Plains Theater. You can get your tickets by going to thegreatplainstheater.com. You can get the tickets by calling them, or you can walk down to the facility. It's right there in Abilene. This is another one of the really good shows that Hillbilly Hotspot gets to be a part of at Great Plains Theater. They've had Ragtime and Gypsy and lots of other shows in this season. And we're developing Hillbilly Hotspot, Mark, and that's why we're delighted to be able to have you and other special guests coming on, because Hillbilly Hotspot, when this 9-show segment ends, the website will be launched, and Hillbilly Hotspot will be available for any of the 847 theaters, professional and community theaters across the nation. And so our music, the original music for this, is written by Darlene Austin. And Darlene used to be from Ottawa County, little area called Vine Creek. And when she was 4, she started dancing, and her mom took her everywhere for that. When she was 14, she started performing in a band. And then when she was 17, she took her band and they went out on the road. And a few years went by, she wound up in Nashville and Grand Ole Opry, all kinds of things. So the history of the people that are involved in this, just like you, everybody in the performance business has a story to tell. And I've heard that same story from others saying, you know, it was fantastic money. I bet you made good money working for Sammy Kershaw.
It was good.
And
I wish I had it.
Yeah, I understand, but is it kind of one of those where I made $3,500, but it cost me $3,700 a night to live? Is it kind of similar?
It's pretty close to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you get a lot of toys when you're young, but later in life, when it's gone, you wish you still had those toys.
Yeah, you wish you do, but you know the same story I know, and Roger knows this, is when it's all done, it's like I oftentimes say, there's no hearse. There's no U-Haul truck following the hearse, because all that stuff gets left behind.
Yeah.
It's gone. And what you have is what you've created in your relationship with the Lord. And I know you made a transition period, and in your case, you had told me before, made that transition period. It came from my wife was the one who started it, right?
Right. My wife was the one that helped me quit drinking. She's helped me quit smoking, and I took my personal feelings and what had happened to me in life, and I put them into the songs. The 2 songs that I'm going to be playing for Hillbilly Hotspot are personal songs of my life, stories of where I was and where I am. And that's, if you're going to write your own music, that's the best thing to do, is pull it from your life.
Because you're pulling it from the inside,
You're
aren't
pulling
you?
it from your heart. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're pulling it out.
What's the name of the 2 songs you're going to be doing?
One of them's Inspiration, and the other one's The Right Time.
Tell me about Inspiration. What was it that caused you to write that song?
Inspiration is about coming from Flagstaff, headed to Louisiana in a station wagon, and it catching on fire in the wintertime and losing a lot of your equipment, and one of your band members tell you, you know, it's okay, something good will come, and inspiration's out there, and that's how the song came about. Inspiration's talked about caught in a wheel that turns, flames in a fire that burns. So it's about life. The other song,
Well, it didn't feel like when you were going through that and lost the vehicle and your equipment.
No.
It didn't feel like when your band members patting you and said, "Mark, it's going to be all right. Something good will come out of this." You didn't feel it at the time.
No, I didn't. I gave the words to my brother in Houston and he worked on the song, and between the two of us, that's how it came to be.
And you copyrighted it.
Yes, it's copyrighted in my name. Yes, and like I said, the other one's the same way. It's picking up hard times in my life that I should have never went to, but it's talking about the Lord. You know, it's always the right time to sing to the Lord, and that's just the way I felt, and so that's how that song came about as well.
What's the name of that second song?
You know, I just told it to you, and I can't remember that. That's pretty bad.
Well, as long as you know the words, you'll be all right.
Yeah, I know the words. Sometimes my mind just goes blank.
Well, that's all right. But you remember why you wrote it. And
Yeah.
You remember what was going on at the time in your life.
Yeah, you know, I guess I've come to the point in my life where I can pretty much talk about anything. And there was a time in my life that I just went down the wrong road. Alcohol took me to the bottom of the barrel, which is not death, but it's prison. And I'd done some prison time, and that's where that song came from.
The right time.
The right time, yes. Thank you. It's because when you're in a place like that, there's nowhere else to go.
Right.
You know, and you've got enemies all around you, and you're in this one little cell, which is not as bad as some people think it is, but you've got, if you don't stick with the Lord in prison, you can forget it. And that's where wherever I walked at in that prison, my walls were already there because I had a foundation with the Lord. So I was safe. I was safe when I didn't even know I was in trouble.
Yeah, I understand
amazing.
that. I understand it, Mark, and always in my own life, in my own situation, when you do something that's just really, really stupid, what I used to do in the morning, kind of like you mentioned with the drinking. You know, you'd look at the mirror and you'd look right in the mirror, and I've used this multiple times when I've spoken in churches. I said, you look right in the mirror and you're looking at your own eyes and you say, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
And if you have to say that 10 times, you can fool yourself at first. Oh, I'm this and I'm that. But after you look at yourself enough, you're looking at your own eyes, and you know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to decide the next step from there is, who do I want to be? What do I want to be from here?
Right.
And then how do you get there? And the only way I know of to get there is to say, Lord, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Give me a start over. And you go from there. Did you go through that?
I not only went through that, but that's how all this became. When you get to the point where you say, Lord, I can't do it no more. You have to help me with this. That's when my business started taking off.
Because you surrendered.
I surrendered. And here's the most important thing I need to mention, is even to this day, when not many vehicles are coming in and things are getting kind of rough, at the moment that I need it the most, he will step in and say, here's a vehicle. It happens every single time.
Yep.
And me and Karen, my wife, we know it's the Lord doing it.
Yeah.
Nobody else is doing it. He knows I need to help, and here's the car, or here's the truck, here's the plane. It still gets me every time it happens. I'll tell Karen, he did it again.
Yeah.
You know?
I understand the concept completely. Understand every part of it that you've done, and now you know why you're on Hillbilly Hotspot, because there's a message that you're sharing out there, not just the good music, and not just that, but everybody up there has got an experience to share.
Yes.
We need to cut away and take our final break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Stories That Matter. I'm your co-host, Doug Thompson, with my brother, Roger Thompson. In between us is Mark Jones. We've been visiting with Mark about life, how the Lord's worked in his life, and how it's his business that he has going right now. It's a detail business just 1 mile outside of Chapman. We're going to put the contact information up on the screen. If you got some work you want him to do, you contact him because he's readily available. And then he's also shared with us about his music industry, being in music career, of being part of the Sammy Kershaw band, and he's going to be at Great Plains Theater on September the 15th, going to be in Hillbilly Hotspot. He'll be a special guest. Mark, we're really looking forward to seeing you there. I want to hear your music. Appreciate you doing it. It's going to be a fun time.
I look forward to singing to the people, to sharing these two songs, and maybe someone in the audience can relate to it and be lifted up by it.
I bet they can. Hope you've enjoyed Stories That Matter with Mark Jones. Thanks for watching.
Struggle hard to just get by, and then I look into your eyes, oh, where do I go